We're getting close to the 4th of July. We are going to talk about bourbon from a veteran-owned bourbon company. And it's got a unique story, so stay tuned. Welcome back to Pars and Pours, a golf-centric bourbon channel, because both bourbon and golf are very social activities and need to be shared with friends. I suggest you do too. So let's talk about this for a bit. So Larrikin. Larrikin is a Australian term or Australian slang term for somebody who's quite mischievous but in a good-natured sort of way. And that would probably describe Gregg Keeley to a T. So Gregg has got a unique story in that he started out in the Australian Navy and found his way into the U.S. Navy and got out as a lieutenant commander. That is no easy feat, right? That is a pretty big deal. And he was a combat veteran in the Navy, which means, unlike me, who was on a submarine and went under the water, he was on the sand doing all the things you see stuff on TV. He fell into the story, as the story goes, he kind of fell into the distilling. He had a background in dealing with spirits and whatnot, and somebody contacted him and they had a supply of barrels that were supposed to go to the Ukraine. They gave him a call and said if he was interested. He said yes, and we talked with Katie, and she is a super duper nice person, also an officer in the Navy, and is doing time at a hospital right now, working in it, not being in it. And she describes it as, when they got the phone call, she says, basically, looks like we're going to be starting a distillery, or at least a bourbon company. So again, it started as the Lawrenceburg Distilling Company, or Lawrenceburg Distilling Company. It became Larrikin Bourbon Company in 2023, and the name change was announced at the Kentucky Bourbon Festival last year. And so it's been nothing but straight up stuff since then. So what we did is we took a trip. We took a trip to Bardstown, and we decided that we would stop here because veteran to veteran, wanted to taste some stuff, wanted to see what it was all about. All right, Miss Jessie, let's do this thing.
Okay.
So here we are. We're going to do, what is this? The single barrel tastings, right?
Yeah.
Okay. So what are we going to be looking at since we're standing here?
So our first two guys are going to be our single barrel bourbons. So
Okay.
They are both a 75 corn, 21 rye, and 4 malted barley. With our first one, it's going to be our Nash 25 barrel. It's going to be an 8-year-old. Something that we did in collaboration with the club out in Nashville. It's actually our first pick that we did out in Nashville. Well, whenever they bought the barrel, they only bought half, and it was way too good to leave the rest of it up there. So we ended up grabbing it and pulling it down here to the gift shop, and it's gone over really well.
Okay.
Sits at 117 proof. For me, it does not drink that hot. It tends to have a lot more sweetness on the back end.
Okay. And is that with the stickers on the side? Basically your own versions of barrel picks?
Mm-hmm. It's just the barrel pick sticker.
Mm-hmm. So Nashville. Okay. First sip of the day. Always the toughest one.
Mm-hmm.
There's a bit of a sweetness on it, isn't there?
Yeah. It comes across a little fruity for me, at least on the nose.
Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
I was just watching somebody talking tropical fruits, and I thought, tropical fruits? Really? Is that even a thing? And now here it is. I don't know if it's just stuck in my head or not.
I don't know if I've ever quite picked out a tropical fruit in a bourbon before.
Somebody was like pineapple and stuff. I was like, I don't know if that's in my wheelhouse to do that one or not. But okay.
Okay.
Front's really good.
Mm-hmm.
Kind of nice in the middle, and just not a real heavy back finish. It's good. That's okay. I like that. I don't need it to ruin my day.
She's gentle. She doesn't have a Kentucky hug. She has a Kentucky cuddle.
So it's from Nashville.
Or at least that's where the pick was done with.
Ah,
Yeah.
okay.
Now, our next guy is going to be AR1. Another pick collaboration. I believe it was out of a different group from Nashville. But with this guy, it's going to be the hottest on the flight at 125 proof. Does not drink that hot. With it being that same mash bill as the 7521 pour, does tend to be a little bit more rye forward. So you get just a little bit more of that rye spice, and along with that, you get a little more oakiness compared to the Nash 25 barrel.
Well, the one thing I've noticed about Mr. Gregg, he does know a thing or two about the rye end of it.
He does. He likes his ryes. That's
Yeah.
his pick.
See, that one comes off, like you said, not as hot as the other one, actually. I don't know
The
if
spice
that-
is different.
Yeah, I think the rye tends to, it's just funny. This one just almost like a traditional. It two different it's amazing how two different spots at two different places.
Yeah. The only thing that's
This one.
different is going to be the age statement. So that one that you're holding now, that AR1's going to be a 9-year-old, and then the other's an 8. But even then, I think it was an older 8 whenever they pulled
This
it.
doesn't drink anywhere near 125. Nowhere near. And it's the nose and the palate is just really toned down. Just easy to come by.
Yeah.
This, oh yeah. That one I can get behind. That one's a good one. Yeah. That was good.
Wow.
Then we're
The next two are a little more interesting.
okay.
They're high wheat ryes. So it's a 65 rye, 35 wheat, no corn. Which is really interesting because typically when you see those two grains together, it's usually in the 4 grain in a lot smaller amounts. Your first guy is barrel 15. It's definitely my pick of the litter when it comes to everything that we have on the bar.
Oh, really?
It has a little bit more of that rye spice up front, but the viscosity and the texture is a lot thicker like a wheat, and you end up getting a lot more of those caramels on the back end. And it likes to hang around a little bit. It has a long finish.
Does it have that weeded funk thing that everybody talks about?
No, I don't think it does.
It's funny because we've been here once before just to stop by and see whether or not we could even catch Gregg out in the open, because I'm a Navy guy too.
Yeah.
But and we ended up taking one of those home, and it's very close to being done. I enjoy it. I enjoy it a lot.
It's definitely
Yeah, this
more
was
unique.
definitely, I don't know, I don't want to say sweeter, but floral, maybe?
I would agree with sweeter.
Yeah. These two in the middle so far are just really nice. You get the caramels and just a light hint of the caramel stuff. I see the wheat. You can just, but it's not. You're right. It doesn't have that funk that most other ones would have.
It's not abrasive.
Yeah. Yeah. Oh my God. How do you not drink the whole thing?
A lot of restraint.
Wow. I mean, everybody uses the word smooth, but that's, even after even clearing the palate and whatnot, it's not the first hint of any kind of hug or burn or anything. It just right there. And you're right. It's oily. It's a bit oily,
Yeah.
which I think is great too. I think, wow, that is really good.
It's really well balanced,
Yes.
which I like.
That's a good one. And they talk about complex. Sometimes complex can be brutal. That one's a good one. I like that one. And for a high wheat and rye, it's really weird how those combinations, nobody would really think about that.
It shocks a lot of people, especially people that say they don't like rye.
Right.
I like to say, are you willing to try something, and just kind of sneak it over to people, and they end up loving it. It's always a really nice surprise.
Yeah, I found when they talk about high ryes, I don't think I'm a fan of high rye myself, but I love a 95.5. I love a 95.5. It's really awesome.
I'm a rye girl through and through. So.
Yep. All right, number 16.
Barrel 16, for me at least, tends to have a little bit more of that rye forward aspect. It tends to be a little drier. The finish isn't as long as 15, but still maintains some of those sweetness in that caramel.
Sorry, stealing bottles.
You know the funny part about it, when I first nosed this one, I got cherry. It's weird. I get the rye again, but this one almost, it's not, the nose on this one is more succinct, is that the word? Is more definite. There's more layers on it than the other one. But when I first got it, the fruity the fruity part of it, there's a little bit of the earthy kind of rye-ish on it.
I like the high wheat rye a lot.
Yeah, it is. It's hotter, so to speak.
Yeah.
And you get the rye spice on it. It's pretty good. Are they doing something behind us? No, I like that one. Yeah, I think if I had to choose my favorites, I would take these two in the middle. I think I would do like this. You know, these are delicious, but I mean, there's not a bad one, but I like the two in the middle for sure.
Yeah.
The single barrel, and they're two different varieties. So if you're looking at, you're not drinking the same thing all day long, these guys would be phenomenal. Okay, so what we did is we went in there and they had our tasting. It was a single barrel tasting. They have other levels of tasting. They have other levels of tasting, and we got to see some new construction of where they'd be able to fill up your own bottle, and it had this nice area set back for new construction. We hope to make it back for that because I'd like to really be able to get one of those first bottles out of the barrel just to say that I did. That's what we're going for. So as you see, let's go in there and let's take a small trip into Larrikin. Okay, as you saw, we just did single barrel stuff, but I can tell you beyond a shadow of a doubt there is other stuff that's out there. And so I don't get it wrong. So Larrikin has an American maple, a bottled in bond, which we're going to try for the first time right now, a bourbon cream, and one called Decade. It is a rye whiskey finished in a cognac cask. It also has rosewater bourbon. They manipulated a loophole and they've been able to use rosewater in order to make bourbon. It doesn't sound kosher, but they do have a story for it. They also have the single barrel. They have the high wheat rye whiskey, and then they have a small batch. All right, so I can personally tell you that the small batch, which is an 80 proofer, I got it at Rural Inn in Indianapolis. Beautiful bourbon. It's a very good starter bourbon. It has a great palate. It does everything you want to for an 80 proofer. It does drink as 80 proof. It is a very good get started bourbon. If you wanted to like warm up your palate for the day, it is perfect for that. People just wanting to get started into bourbon, I recommend that one highly because the flavors are just fantastic. All right, so as you saw in there, I got to try the high wheat and the single barrel, and we're going to start with those because I did pick out some of my favorites. This one is a store pick, and then this one we got from Larrikin itself, and we're going to go through it again and we're going to tell you about it. Now on this barrel they actually tell you the makeup. So this is a 65 rye, 35 wheat, and it comes in at 120.8 proof, and it is bottle number 6, and it's 8 years old. This thing smells like honey in a glass. It's just incredibly gentle. And when you think about wheat and rye, you think you're going to get all this grain and all this spicy and all this other stuff, and you just don't. I get the honeycomb, I get the honeycomb cereal Just a little bit of a sweetness, almost a butterscotch kind of flavor. And maybe even a cherry. It comes off very sweet. That's the first sip of the day, so we'll let this one go by. So initially, you know, when you see this wheated rye, and you think, oh my gosh, it's going to be forever awful. And honestly, it is very, very nice. It's got a great nose. All right, now let's get to it. I'm still picking up the sweetness. It's a very sweet white whiskey rye, I guess, or a wheated rye as you would come across. I just think it's great. Sláinte. That is something that should be on your shelf all the time. It starts on the front of the palate, and it gives you all the flavors that you just nosed. It is a sweeter, that honeycomb, I would say maybe even a light graham crackery kind of flavor. And in the mid palate, it's got an oily type finish, which I really prefer. And then on the back, there is a finish, and it does linger, but it's not overpowering. And that's the way I just like it. This thing just fits me to a T. I just really like this one. They're just kind of trying to see if there's anything else showing up. You get the finish goes all the way down. It's phenomenal. This thing is just really great at 120 proof. Beautiful. Yep. On the second sip, I do get some of that wheated flavor, that grain flavor, not funky flavor, but just you get that grain in it, and it's not an off-putting grain, but you just can taste it. Growing up in Nebraska, this is easy peasy for me. Okay, as we saw in my visit, I really did enjoy it anyway, and I'm still enjoying it now, so that's great. Now onto the single barrel. This is single barrel. This is a 125 proof on the button. It is the ARI bottle, and it's bottle number 146, aged 9 years. And this is typically what their mash bills are going to be, and it's 75% corn, 21% rye, 4% barley, and it's being shown in the purple. They've taken on purple, which is kind of a unique color that you will see in a lot of cases. Okay, to further on in the back of the purple bottle, it actually gives a description. Larrikin, Australian slang, a person who disregards convention, a maverick. Larrikinism was a reaction to rules imposed by the British officials on the young country of Australia. Our whiskey reflects the bold spirit and good nature, irreverence, and relies on character, not ceremony. They began as the Lawrenceburg Bourbon Company, so I did not have that correct. And now they're being disruptive from the start, and now they're Larrikin Bourbon Company. So there we go. So 125. Traditional mash bill. This one's just a totally different ball game. Brown sugars for days. Darker aromas than say the wheat and the rye, which one would expect. And a honey. I'm getting the sweetness today. Must be the sweetness day for this. Dark sugars, darker aromas. Just traditional, nice, easygoing bourbon. So, salute. Now this one drinks just a hair hotter than our wheated rye, but not so much that it's off-putting. You just know that it's got more flavor, a higher proof on it. Not as high as the other one, but it's a higher proof for most other bourbons at 125. It's not an aggressive palate. It's very much a smoother palate as far as the front and the middle are concerned. It is, you get, again, the sugar hits, the oily hits again, and then in the back, there's very little in the way of a finish. It's not a killer. It's there, but these are very light finish. So those you guys and gals that are put off by this really hot drink or whatever this is not it. Yeah, this is what you would call a very, very nice, traditional bourbon. Again, the nose does not disappoint into the palate. You don't go from something that says, oh, I got brown sugars, and then it tastes like a brick of cement or something along that lines. Very, very well done. Now for me, this is a new one, the Bottled and Bond. I picked this one up somewhere else. That was probably in the, where did I pick this up? Actually, no, I picked this up at Larrikin on our first trip. That's what we did. So Bottled and Bond, it is obviously 100 proof, 75% corn, 21% rye, 4% barley, aged 8 years. So it's an 8-year Bottled and Bond. And it has the same information on the back, and it's signed by Lieutenant Commander Gregg Keeley. Alrighty, so we saw these guys at the Bourbon and Barrels in Owensboro, and we were going through the Bluegrass Hall of Fame, and I said, man, those guys look familiar. And sure enough, it was them. I didn't want to approach them and ruin their day, but we saw them later when it was at the thing, and we got to talk a little bit about bluegrass and whatnot, and it seems that they're fans. So very cool. All right, so Bottled and Bond. So we know that the small batch is a really good starter bourbon. No surprises, 80 proof. It's not going to blow your socks off, but getting people eased into it or just getting your palate warmed up for the day, definitely a try. We know that the wheated rye is very, very mellow as far as it gets started. It's a very sweet feeling, sweet tasting whiskey. And then the what we call a single cask or single barrel is what I would call a very deep noted, sweeter noted traditional bourbon at 125, and just has a flavor profile that is just to basically die for. So now, Bottled and Bond, and I believe it's the same. It is the same. So it's the same, just Bottled and Bond versus being a single barrel. All right, Bottled Bond is in the teal blue or steel blue, and it is 75% corn, 21% rye, 4% barley. It is 50% by Bottled and Bond standards, aged 8 years. So an 8-year Bottled and Bond. It is the same mash bill as the single barrel. As we all know, Bottled and Bond's same distillery, same season, one of the 2 seasons, right? Bottled and Bond 8-year, which is really kind of unique because in order to be that, you really only need to be 4-year, correct? Based on the Bottled and Bond rules. This is the first one out of there. You can tell I've been enjoying these two pretty good. This is my first one for this. It's kind of funny. It's a lighter tone, as what would be expected. It's a lighter tone of the single barrel. I keep coming up with a kind of an we'll call it an off-center caramel. I'm not even trying to figure out, and it comes off again with the lighter fruity notes. I was talking about cherry from before. The cherry really comes out in this one. Or I'm trying to figure out, is a very sweet fruit. I'm not going to say strawberry, but it just comes off of this very sweet, very, very light, I guess is the way to be talking about. And somewhere in between a candy and a caramel. I know caramels can be that, but this is kind of like a hard candy kind of deal. And then you get the caramel. And the funny part in all of these, normally in the past I get a lot of oak notes and nothing. I get nothing like that. So again, on the nose, yeah, kind of a red twist, a red twist fruit, maybe that's what I'm looking at. Man, just perfect. If this comes off like the other ones do, we're going to have a trio here. All right, to your health. Now as we look at this one, we can see there's legs coming off there. I know people don't give that much credit, but I like to see it just so I can tell if it's going to feel oily or not. If you get a look, it's about in the same appearance as in our single barrel. It's certainly going to be darker than their wheat. It's almost a muted flavor. Let's try one more. Now this one is a bit of an aggressive flavor in that in the front and the middle palate you get that, what you would get that finish where it tells you, hey, you're alive. And in the back, almost nothing. And you get that, maybe it's like a cherry honeycomb kind of flavor that you get out of this. And it's really quite nice. Just a Just like the other one drank a little hot, this one does too, but not off-putting. It's just enough to say, hey, look, I'm a bourbon, come enjoy me. And that's what we're seeing here. Yeah, now that I've gone through this a little bit, I still get it's kind of leaning towards that medicinal cherry flavor. Man, it's really nice. Yeah, so in the second sip, everything kind of mellowed out right away. Just mellowed out right away. You get the kind of that medicinal cherry kind of flavor, the caramel falling right behind it. The flavor on the palate in the front and the mid really don't get excited. Because they've been coated, right? And just a real easy sipper. And then it gets right into the back, and it's a very mellow finish onto the back. It's one of those things on a hot day, if you want to put just the teeniest of ice cubes in it just to cool it down just a little bit, I think this would be just a phenomenal table bourbon, or a shelfer bourbon, as we can say. So again, Larrikin, veteran-owned, veteran distilled, right? And it's U.S. Navy one, so I got to support one way or another, ooh-ah. And the thing is, it's easy to support this because this is a phenomenal drink, this is a phenomenal drink, and this is a phenomenal drink. And the small batch that I told you off to the side is a great starter for whatever you want to do. So if you're interested in supporting a veteran-owned company that is doing a phenomenal job, I would recommend the Larrikin Bourbon Company full-heartedly. Right? They are found in Lawrenceburg, Kentucky. They're just literally, if you guys are going and you're doing the trail and you're visiting Wild Turkey, you're literally a mile away from these folks. Stop by, see them, enjoy the atmosphere. The folks are super duper friendly, and they know what they're talking about, and they know what they're doing. So if you like this, if you like seeing these and like hearing the notes and the tasting, please like and subscribe. All right, that way we can get our subscribership up. And as always, save your pars, enjoy your pours.